So, testing. Papadala ko na sana yung
Kasi they will provide, being the organizer. They should.
Aga pa eh. rich and tempting. Pero your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. This company was never easy, but over the years, although people have grown, I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao.
Project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
What makes Pepero indulgent? Delightful baked goodness. Premium chocolate from Ghana. High quality almonds from California. Rich and tempting. Treat yourself to irresistible flavors and experience premium indulgence, perfect for any moment. Pepero, your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. Building this company was never easy, but over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
What makes Pepero indulgent? Delightful baked goodness. Premium chocolate from Ghana. High quality almonds from California. Rich and tempting. Treat yourself to irresistible flavors and experience premium indulgence, perfect for any moment. Pepero, your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. Building this company was never easy, but over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
What makes Pepero indulgent? Delightful baked goodness. Premium chocolate from Ghana. High quality almonds from California. Rich and tempting. Treat yourself to irresistible flavors and experience premium indulgence, perfect for any moment. Pepero, your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. Building this company was never easy, But over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin. Kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
What makes pepero indulgent? Delightful baked goodness. Premium chocolate from Ghana. High-quality almonds from California. Rich and tempting. Treat yourself to irresistible flavors and experience premium indulgence, perfect for any moment. Pepero, your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. Building this company was never easy, but over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin. Kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
What makes pepero indulgent? Delightful baked goodness. Premium chocolate from Ghana. High-quality almonds from California. Rich and tempting. Treat yourself to irresistible flavors and experience premium indulgence, perfect for any moment. Pepero, your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. Building this company was never easy, but over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin. Kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
What makes pepero indulgent? Delightful baked goodness. Premium chocolate from Ghana. High-quality almonds from California. Rich and tempting. Treat yourself to irresistible flavors and experience premium indulgence, perfect for any moment. Pepero, your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. Building this company was never easy, but over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin. Kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
What makes pepero indulgent? Delightful baked goodness. Premium chocolate from Ghana. High quality almonds from California. Rich and tempting. Treat yourself to irresistible flavors and experience premium indulgence, perfect for any moment. Pepero, your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. Building this company was never easy, but over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa Mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
What makes pepero indulgent? Delightful baked goodness. Premium chocolate from Ghana. High quality almonds from California. Rich and tempting. Treat yourself to irresistible flavors and experience premium indulgence, perfect for any moment. Pepero, your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. Building this company was never easy, but over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa Mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
What makes pepero indulgent? Delightful baked goodness. Premium chocolate from Ghana. High quality almonds from California. Rich and tempting. Treat yourself to irresistible flavors and experience premium indulgence, perfect for any moment. Pepero, your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. Building this company was never easy, but over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa Mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
What makes pepero indulgent? Delightful baked goodness. Premium chocolate from Ghana. High quality almonds from California. Rich and tempting. Treat yourself to irresistible flavors and experience premium indulgence, perfect for any moment. Pepero, your premium indulgence.
Design has always been my passion. Building this company was never easy, but over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa Mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
Like this. We're about to start the forum. Can you guys settle down? Good evening, everyone. So we welcome you to tonight's forum. Allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Enzo. I'm from the Middle Managers Program, and with me is Joyce.
Good evening, everybody, also from the Middle Managers Program.
Yeah, so we're actually going to be your hosts for tonight's forum. I'm sure you guys are excited as we are, so let's get on with it. So, for starters, let us all rise for the opening prayer, to be followed by the singing of the national anthem and the Ateneo hymn.
Lord, teach magiliw, kailan sa sinanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bagaw, may nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdiningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhating pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya na pag may mga apil, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please take your seats, everyone.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's nice to see a good turnout today. There's like a lot of faces and students here from both faculties and colleagues as well. So before we officially start, I just want to know, at least we want to know, in terms of our diversity here, can I have a show of hands? Who amongst you here are from the standard program? Wow, still the dominant majority. How about from where I am, the middle managers program? Yay! Woo! And of course, the elites, the Regis program. Nice. Okay, I think we have a very diverse crowd here, so I'm sure the conversations later on will be very, very rich. Okay, Joy, so tell us, what are we in it for tonight? What is the forum about? And can you tell us more? What can they expect about this?
Right. This forum is actually the key event of the operations management class this semester under the Middle Managers MBA program. It's entitled Inside the War Room, Success Stories on Operations Management. And I find that very interesting because in a real battle, a war room is where the fight is directed. It is there where strategies and tactics are devised and then cascaded through the ranks. So what happens in here is crucial to the victory at the front lines. So tonight, consider yourselves as inside the figurative war room with our experts sharing strategies to win in business, Enzo.
Yeah, that's actually quite nice. And I think in terms of the objectives, it's quite nice that we're hearing testimonials from successful people who actually applied their principles as far as what they have learned from the classroom and put it into actual execution. And now it's quite refreshing to hear success stories. And maybe in their sharing, we'll be able to pick up a thing or two that we could apply in our own professions and in our everyday normal things.
I'm sure with the quality of our speakers, it will be much more than a thing or two.
I'm surely looking forward to it. So, okay, to start, to give us officially the opening remarks, I would like to call to the stage Professor Luisito Montalvo as the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs. Let's give him a round of applause, please.
Good evening. I'm Louis Montalvo. I'm the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, and I'm representing our Dean, Rudy Ang, who is on sabbatical right now until next month. First, thank you for this invitation, and I'd like to congratulate all the organizers. It's really a very good activity whenever a forum like this is organized for our students in the AGSB. Because when you're inside the classroom, as much as our professors try to provide us with cases of real-life situations that will help animate the learnings and the lessons that they're trying to teach us, it's always never enough. So a forum like this, where we have speakers who will share with us their experiences in their corporate and professional lives about the topics or the topic that is at hand, provides us with more time to digest the learnings that they have. It's operations management. I remember when I took my MBA, initially I was a bit afraid of that. Currently, you're all taking operations management? Not. Not yet. Sige, ano to? Teaser. It's one of the most difficult subjects you will take. But it can be one of the most exciting and insightful. Ayan na. Sa mga teacher. Binibenta ko kayo. It's difficult because there's such a rigor that is involved in trying to understand it. There's a science to it. You cannot wing it, kumbaga. Either you understand it or you don't. Either you get the theory and the underlying framework behind it, or you don't. So I think it's also a challenge for our faculty in terms of teaching it. What I remember, for me, that's why I go to my second point on why it's most insightful. I can't remember. Sino ba yung teacher natin, Ralph? Si Ralph? Si Polly. Polly Nang. Who's the student of Polly Nang right now? Wala. For some reason, Polly Nang was able to make operations management sexy. No, really. I don't need anything from him. But I do remember, and whatever it is that I still remember, I'm still able to apply. But for some reason, I came away from that subject feeling that operations was such an important thing because for me, again, he was able to make it sexy and interesting, which is not an easy thing to do given the rigor of the subject matter. So what we hope to get from our speakers right now is of the same nature. To make their war stories sexy in a way that you will find it interesting. They will share successes, but I also hope they will show the scars of the battles that they've won. Kasi di mo maging successful mga to kung di pumalpak eh. Di ba? There's never success without failure. So I hope that even as they try to teach us or show to us their successes in operations management, they will also show to us their scars. The other point that I hope they will be able to impart to us is because the title of is Success Stories. Ano yung metrics ng success sa operations management? If they don't raise that, ask that. They will claim success, pero pag di malinaw, sir, how do you define success? Kasi sa ethics, ibang-ibang definition ng success. Sa HR, ibang-iba. For operations management, what will be their metrics for saying that that particular endeavor was successful from an operations management perspective? I can imagine, at the bottom, increase in efficiency and effectiveness. Tama ba, sir? Buti nandito si Sir Polly, pressure tuloy ako. At the very least, bottom, efficiency and effectiveness. But at another level, at the higher level, it will be an increase in value for the shareholders. Did the operations management initiative or strategy make the company more valuable, increase profitability, increase value as far as the shareholders are concerned? On another level, if I were to imagine, is whether it actually increased the value not just to the shareholders, but to the other stakeholders as well. Employees, customers, suppliers, the community where they operate, and the country. It's one thing to talk about success that increased the value and the profitability of the company if in the process of the operations management, you destroy the environment. Is that success or not? To me, parang malabo yun. So, hindi ko alam if I'm putting our speakers on the spot by preempting some of my thoughts, but I would hope that part of their sharing to us is to be able to help us understand what is it to be successful from an operations management perspective that is not just confined to the very discipline of operations management, but a wider perspective. Part of the value proposition that I think you heard when you entered AGSB is our country is our business. That you are here, what the kind of education that we're trying to impart to you is not just to make you professionals, not just to make you competent as far as your professions are concerned, but to make you better citizens of the country and the world. I hope this forum is not an exception. I hope this forum, as well as all the other classes that you are taking in the AGSB, will lead you towards not just being better in your profession, but better persons, better husbands and wives, better Filipinos, given the kind of country that we are facing right now, and better citizens of the world. Okay? So, 3 minutes na lang daw. So, thank you very much and have a good forum.
Thank you, Mr. Montalvo. I think he had made a lot of valid points. Would you agree, Joyce?
Yes, very insightful context, actually, from
Correct.
where we begin.
And those are actually good pointers for the speakers and at the same time for our audience here. Perhaps later as we go through the question and answer, those are things that you could touch on. In fact, what I like about what he said was how we can define our success beyond efficiency and effectiveness, and perhaps touch a little bit on sustainability, which is really a good direction, especially at where we are right now and where the businesses are going, at least in the context of the global market. All right, so I think everyone is excited to hear about our first speaker, so I won't keep you guys waiting. So Joyce, can you tell us who the first speaker is?
Our first speaker is Carlos Naval, MD, MDA. He is the medical director and founding president of Galileo Surgery Center, as well as Envision Medical Incorporated. He is a faculty member of the Center for Ophthalmic Microsurgical Skills Advancement and the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, as well as a consultant in ophthalmology at Cardinal Santos Medical Center and Our Lady of Lourdes Hospital. He plays an active role in several organizations, including the Philippine and American Societies of Cataract and Refractive Surgery and the Eye Bank Foundation of the Philippines. Aside from being a gold medalist when he finished his MBA H degree at AGSB, an inspiration for all of us, he was also given recognition as an outstanding alumnus of the UPPGH Department of Ophthalmology and Visual Sciences in 2011. A father to 4 amazing children and husband to Soyan, who is a pulmonologist at Cardinal Santos, please welcome Dr. and entrepreneur, Dr. Carlos Naval.
Good evening. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you to the Opman Group for this invitation and allowing me to speak here. We were taught, when I was in MBA, our teacher, he's not here now, he's Professor Art Zamora, who I believe is somewhere in the South, no? I just actually saw his family. They came for a checkup 2 weeks ago. They told me that he wouldn't be here. So I'll explain the title later on. But because they just gave us about 20 minutes to talk, let me breeze through what actually we're doing as far as operations is concerned. Well, I run Galileo Surgery Center. It's an eye center where we thought it should be a customer-centric one-stop shop center. If you've been to a solo practice, let's say you've gone to Medical City, for example, see a doctor, you wait at the waiting room, secretary calls you, doctor does everything, sends, let's say you need a test, they'll send you down to the eye center where you do a schedule, and then you go back for the test is done, you go back for the result on a different day, and after you get the result, you go back to your doctor, bring the result with another appointment. That would take you something like a week or 2 weeks, from the time you have a problem to the time you have a final diagnosis. We can do that in an hour. So that's the reason why we also set up Galileo, to make it customer-centric and customer-friendly. Now we are ISO certified at least until September for the 9001-2008 standard. We have 23 employees, and we have 15 affiliated ophthalmologists. One of them is here, Dr. John Baldwin Tan. We do about 500 eye surgeries a year, mostly cataract surgeries. So cataract surgery happens to be the most successful surgery in the world, meaning it's most often painless. It's the removal of the lens of the eye, which we replace with an artificial lens that actually makes you see better after the surgery than before you had the cataract. Okay. So the problem along with cataract surgery, there's a 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 10,000 risk that something would go wrong, and that is an infection. That is what endophthalmitis means. So we do a lot of preventive measures to reduce the risk of infection. Aside from antibiotic prophylaxis, meaning giving antibiotic drops, we also do a lot of draping. So you see this is the patient's covered with drapes, the doctor is gloved and also wearing a sterile drape, and all the surfaces that are in contact with the instruments that we use are also sterile and covered with sterile cloth. So you see that everybody wears a cap and a mask, including the anesthesiologist. The patient dons a patient's gown so that the street clothes don't go into the operating room. And the doctors change as well from their street clothes or their office clothes to a newly laundered surgical scrub suit. Okay. So patients are prepped, instruments are sterilized, everything disposable just to prevent that risk of infection. However, there are issues in this, no? Because each case needs one whole set. Okay? So we sterilize some of the gowns and drapes. In fact, all the cloth drapes are put in this autoclave. Autoclave is a high-pressure steam cooker. Okay? And it stays there for an hour. Afterwards, it's removed. So, but before you can put it inside, you have to make sure it's folded properly. Because when you remove the packaging of the gown, it has to be in a way that a surgeon who has scrubbed his hands and is already sterile, when he touches it, he cannot touch the outside of the gown. So there's a technique in putting the gown on, and there's a technique in folding that gown so it's easy for the surgeon. So it's not something that an ordinary laundry would do. So we have to actually fold it, pack it into a sealed roll, and then before putting it in the sterilizer. So it's a time-consuming process. We operate mostly on Tuesdays and Saturdays. That means operate in terms of surgery. So we do surgeries mostly on Tuesdays and Saturdays. So that means by Monday, everything has to be ready for Tuesday, and then everything has to be cleaned up so that on Saturday you can do the same procedure. We wanted to improve the system, but we said, let's stop looking at the way hospitals are doing it, because obviously it's not efficient, because that's where we learned how to do it. So we looked across other industries, and we came across value streaming and A3 problem solving. We actually visited the Toyota plant before they closed it for refurbishing. They allowed us, all of us, Dr. Tan was also there. We went to visit the Toyota plant. And we said, as a maiden project, to make it simple, let's tackle this issue about the linen. So we did this A3 problem analysis. The problem here, as I already intimated earlier, was that all this preparation for the linen took about 9 hours per week to prepare. It took one person practically the whole day of staying beside the autoclave, waiting for it to cool down, and unable to do any other thing. Okay? He would remove the soiled linen from the past surgeries, send them to the laundry, which was outsourced, and he'd actually have to wait for it to deliver, and once it's delivered, he would refold it, put it in the rolls, put it in the autoclave, and then pull them out. But the autoclave couldn't fit the entire thing. So for every set, he had to set the autoclave again. So that's 1 hour per set. So in the A3 problem analysis, you do this why, these 5 whys, or infinite whys. In our system, we call it the bucket list. So the linen is left, some of the linen is left unprepared, meaning it's there, but it's not, no one's working on it, because the person in charge is interrupted by errands, because that person in charge happened to be also the messenger, or he was also the one in charge of cleaning the center. You know? So some of the papers that he had to submit to regulatory agencies like PhilHealth, the BIR, etc., were always for immediate submission. So he would interrupt the autoclaving, the sterilization, and part of the reason was that schedule of errands were really not coordinated. Everybody wanted everything in a hurry. Number 2 is person in charge is overburdened. That person preparing the linen is time-consuming. 1 hour to collect, fold, 1 hour to fold, pack, clean linen, 6 hours to sterilize them. Delivered linen is not folded standard way, as I said, and then it takes 1 hour autoclave cycle per set. Okay, so this is obviously an abbreviated form of the whys. No? So the other problem is we couldn't really schedule the deliveries and the pickups regularly because there was a minimum of 25 kilos before the laundry air service would pick it up, and then we weren't sure when they would deliver. But we wanted a target condition that was ideal. That means we wanted greater efficiency in providing the linen. So in the A3 problem analysis, one aspect of it, you draw what you want your system to be doing. How can it be more efficient? How can it be more efficient so we don't have to hire another person to actually do the errands? Because that will double the cost of our labor. No? So if we shorten this person's processing in this way, we thought this would be good. And how would we do that? That means probably adopting something that we'd see in other hospitals abroad would be to actually get disposable gowns. Okay? So if we use disposable gowns, we said, then they would be already pre-sterile. Okay? They would be standardly packed so that we could just open them up and use them. And he wouldn't have to fold and autoclave them anymore. Except launder maybe, the only thing we need to do is launder the gowns that the doctors wear underneath the sterile gowns, and also the gowns of the patient. So we would markedly reduce the time that he would need. So how do you get to this condition? Well, we provide countermeasures. So if you notice with this in the first diagram, you see this, actually they should be black clouds. These are the problems that we've identified. And the countermeasures actually are the measures that will dispel those black clouds, so turn them into sources of efficiency. So we said, let's find the source and supplier for the disposable linen, try some samples, pick out the one that's best suitable for our operations, purchase them, use disposable linen routinely, and then explore also the acquisition of something that we could use for the little laundry that is left, okay, that we'd reuse. Now in the A3, you also do sort of like an implementation plan, and we see that here. So we did this in 2015. And we also compared the cost. Reused cloth, actually, the cost of the linen isn't zero because we actually initially paid for that. But since it's reused, we just, if it's fully expensed, it will come out to zero in the end. And then disposable linen, every time we use it, we'd have to pay $850 for the set. Preparation of the linen, this is calculated according to the man hours that the person in charge spent, would be about $3,458 per month. Compared to $542 per month, if all he had to do was stock up and just clean up just the little linen that's left. No? The packing material was also costly. These are gusseted rolls that would withstand high pressure autoclaving. So they had to be strong, and occasionally they had to be redone. Okay? So that would be less. And then the laundry service would definitely go down. The medical waste disposal was actually a fixed cost. This is the way we dispose our knives, our surgical blades, and including the disposable linen. So as you can see from the cost analysis, we'd actually be saving by using disposable linen. So this is what our A3 paper looked like. Not very classical, but I'll show you what the simplest one should look like. A3 stands actually for the size of the paper where you use this. So this is a very visual report. It's supposed to be written. It's not something you do on your computer. Okay, so everybody can see it. A3 is about tabloid size of paper, if you're familiar with papers. No? You divide it into 4. So you have 4 quadrants. The first quadrant is the problem analysis where you draw your current situation. And then for every problem, you put a black cloud. Then you identify the issues. In the lower quadrant, you do the root problem analysis. So why is it like that, et cetera, until you get to the core or the crux of the problem. And on the right upper quadrant, opposite your problem analysis, the current situation, you draw your target or your ideal situation. So you see the contrast. And then you determine what measures you should do to target the black clouds here so that you get to the future ideal situation. And that's where you come out with the action plan. So you implement solutions, and then you analyze the impact. So obviously, this is all on paper. So you have to show that it works in reality. So after about a month of implementing it, you see if actually all those assumptions that you made are actually true. So what happened with our illustrative solution to the A3 format was that it reduced our laundry requirements. The risk of actually, the very real risk of running out of linen during the surgeries diminished, actually disappeared. And then it became feasible now to do an inventory of how many gowns, how many drapes we had. More work could be accomplished by the maintenance guy / messenger. We had greater confidence in the sterility of the items, and we had intangible benefits later on. For example, since there was very little linen left, very little linen that we could send to the outsourced laundry unless we brought it there ourselves, we decided, why not purchase a washing machine? Okay, just wash that remaining linen. And then, as another benefit, we told the employees, if you have uniforms that need to be washed, just include them in the wash. Okay, so it became like an employee benefit as well. So this is based on several books. One of them is this, A3 Problem Solving for Healthcare. So there are many books out there where you can learn some more. So going back to my title, it's not that they don't, I'm sure your professors teach you the best that they can, but you shouldn't look at your formal education as the end to learning, which is the point of my title. So you learn everything, make it a jumping point or a jump start your further education. So that whatever you learn here, whatever you may sometimes even forget, you can get from that philosophy of continuously learning. So that's the only way you get to do continuous improvement. That's the only way you can innovate. And again, just don't look at the best practices in your industry. Look at cross industries. What else? What do they do that you can adapt to your own industry that will make you better? And in our case, we learned some lessons from Toyota. A3 is not the only thing, of course. Toyota has a lot of lessons to teach you. They have this pyramid from long-term thinking versus short-term financial gains, all the way to processing people and partners. That means you treat your employees with respect. And then you think about problem solving as a sort of continuous learning procedure, just like what our ISO standard required of us, and just like what our philosophy was, not only in terms of operations, meaning operations where we do surgery on the eye, but also operations in terms of the way we run the center. So value streaming actually means that anything that is not in touch with the patient is not of value to the patient. So you try your best to reduce things that are not of value to the patient so you can put more work, create greater efficiencies for the patient's benefit. And with that, I end my slides. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Naval. A majority of us aren't in the field of medicine, but I think we are already starting to apply the wisdom shared just now about going beyond our respective sectors and not just being limited by our initial fields in order to gain best practice, right? I also think that the principle of the bucket list, to be able to identify the black clouds, really drill down on the problems and then develop solutions oriented to that, is something that we can also take with us.
That's actually a good synthesis. But I just want to acknowledge that I think we have a very full house. So would you like to find the seats first?
There are some seats up at the front. It would be great to have you
so
closer
you may want
to
to
us.
assume the seats here. Oh, it's like a screening of a very important movie. I really like the turnout and the excitement of everyone here. And I think one key takeaway that I want to highlight from the speaker's speech was really about the fact that learning doesn't stop. And I think as managers and as professionals here, that should be the most important key takeaway for everyone. That regardless of what profession you pursue in the future, you really have to have a good appetite for learning because learning evolves regardless of what profession you take up. Okay, so I think we have a short time to recognize because all of this wouldn't have been possible had it not been for our sponsors.
Yes.
So for our gold sponsors, I think in a few minutes or so we'll be seeing a video from them. Our gold sponsor being Mundo and Lotte. Our bronze sponsor, on the other hand, is Compass Training Center, Parola and Eagle Star Shipping Agency, and Cohen Consultancy. So we would like to thank you guys.
We would also like to appreciate the organizations who provided sponsorship, which you can experience through the giveaways of our organizers this evening. Thank you very much. Lotte for snacks, Asia Brewery Incorporated for Absolute Mineral Water, Marriott for the ball pens, and Scientific Biotech Specialties Incorporated. So once again, thank you very much to all our partners who make this event possible. And for now, just a short AVP of our gold sponsor, Mundo.
Building this company was never easy, but over the years, Mundo and our people have grown. I'm an industrial designer with a passion for building. It's the passion and determination.
7 years na ako dito sa Mundo. Naituturo ko yung sa tao, kailangan una-una, pulido yung trabaho natin kasi dyan tayo kumukuha ng quality. Tsaka yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga kliyente, yung magandang trabaho.
From the design to project implementation, our group does the planning and strategizing on how to be able to deliver our project on time and with quality.
All right, thank you very much. We will now continue on with our hearing from our experts, and Enzo will introduce our second speaker for this evening.
I'm sure you guys are excited as I am. So let's get to know our second speaker better. His name is Mr. Lucito Torres, PMP MBA. Mr. Torres, who is fondly called as Sir Chito by his colleagues, has 39 years of experience in Philippine and international construction business operations, marketing, joint ventures, project development and management, and human resource development. Aside from being the Senior Vice President and Head of Project Development of MIASCOR, he also chairs the Board of Alabang Country Club, Incorporated, and is the Executive Director of the Center for Continuing Education of Technological Institute of the Philippines. He holds several key positions in different organizations, such as being the President of Optima P3 Management, Incorporated, and the Director and Vice President for Operations of Supply Chain Resource Center, Incorporated. He has broad and diverse experience, knowledge, and skills in business and operations, management, procurement, and contract management, especially around TQM and other related management methodologies. Let's all welcome Mr. Lucito Torres to the stage.
Good evening. Wow, this is a big audience. This is the first time I'll be speaking to such a big audience. So bear with me while I go through a story of transformation of a company where I'm with now. A company is called MIASCOR. Just to clarify, that's not the company at the airport, that's MIASCOR. MIASCOR stands for Meralco Industrial Engineering Services Corporation. We are the engineering and construction arm of Meralco. Okay, but we don't really service just Meralco. We service also the competitors of Meralco. Okay. The title is Story of a Transformation Journey, MIASCOR 2.0. So if there's a 2.0, there must be a 1.0. So I'm going to take you through the journey that we embarked on way back starting 2012 when I joined the company. I retired early from the corporate life, from another construction company. I was enjoying my life being, a professional retired. I became a professional golfer. I mean, I was playing golf 3 to 4 times a week, doing a bit of consultancy here and there, training engagements. So one day, sometime in 2011, I got a call from my former president of the company I used to be, and he was sort of my mentor, and I really admired that person. Out of the blue, he calls me and says, "Hi Chito, what are you doing?" "Here, sir, fine, I'm okay." And "Sir, why did you call? What can I do for you?" "Well, I was just checking my directory if you're still." Obviously, I was still there because he was able to talk to me. So I said, "Sir, so what can I do for you? Can you send me your CV?" "Sir, I'm not looking for a job. I'm fine. I'm happy with just working a few days a week." No, this company I'm now a director with, and you know, this company has a lot of potential, but for some reason it has stagnated for so many years. And you know, I told the board, I have somebody who can turn around this company, and so give me your CV. So, well, long story short, after a couple of months of encouragement, I was finally made to agree to join the company, not because of the compensation. Of course, I will not deny that, you know, it's something you don't give back, but it's more of the challenge that was given to me. It was an opportunity for me to be able to apply what I have learned through the years that I had been working, and I had been teaching, and when I was facilitating seminars, I used to hear all the problems of my participants, and I found out that most of the problems, they will always say, "Oh, sir, my problem is different. My problem is different," but they were all the same. So I said, well, if I could help a lot of people, maybe I could help this company. So I joined the company way back in August of 2012. When I joined the company, I first talked to our chairman, the chairman of the company, and I asked him, "What is it that you expect of me? What, sir, is my mandate?" Simple. Grow the business. Okay, but don't lose money. Wow, so dali, no? Grow the business, but don't lose money. And that means, in terms of growing the company, he wanted us to grow our market beyond Meralco. For the longest time, the business of Miascore was towards giving service to its parent company. So we're like a child, a son, who was asked by the parent to not go out and find his own future, but just stay at home and take care of the parent. 92% of our revenues and income was coming from doing work for Meralco. The other 8 was just incidental. And maybe you would, you know, the logo of Mescor, some of you be familiar because you see them along the road, trimming some trees. So a lot of people thought that that was Mescor. But we were more than that. Okay? So we said, okay, why don't we go out beyond the compound of Meralco? But they said, well, it's not just about expanding the market, but you also have to grow the business in terms of revenue and net income. So basically contributing to the consolidated net income of our parent company. So we are to service the company. Along the way, of course, because construction is such a risky business, and it's a very cyclical business, the chances of losing money is very big. Okay, you can be wiped out by just one project, you know, when you're doing a construction work. So these are very simple mandates, but we found out are not that easy. Well, we're supposed to talk about operations management. The fundamentals of operation management, since my time when I was still taking up MBA, there was, by the way, no operations management then. it was just production management. So most people equate operations management to production management. I'm also an industrial engineer by training, by education. So even from my point of view, operations is production. But operations management is more than running the production floor. Okay. Now, you can also look at operations management from various perspectives. Today, I'm going to take you through operations management as viewed by senior management of an organization. Now, we all learn about the 5 Ps of operation management. We manage people, plants, parts, processes, and then also having control systems. And in operations management, even if you're in operations, operations cannot stand alone without linking operations to strategies. So a lot of things has to be decided as far as planning your operations. You look at the design of the goods and services when you are into operations. You are concerned with quality management, designing the capacity of the plants, of your facilities, where you will locate your plants, your offices, etc., how you will lay out the people that you need, the competencies, the quantity of people that you need at a certain time, supply chain, where will you get all the resources, how much inventory that you need, look at the schedules and maintenance. All of these are things you normally learn in operations management. What applies to operations management at the production level also applies to operations management at a business level. And these are the same things that we looked at when we tried to transform the company. When I joined the company, first day in the office, when I went into the office of Miascore, I thought I was back in time. 1980. I was there 2012, but I felt like I was back to the past, not back to the future. Even the office looked the same. I mean, like 1980s. The people look like from 1980s. I felt so young when I was there. I'm a senior, but I felt so young, as well as the systems, the processes. Okay. I was so amazed because when I say they're 1980, I mean they're about 20 years behind from the former company I retired from, at least 20 years back. I said, how much, what challenge it is to try to accelerate the development of a company. Who, by the way, the people who were in the company, when I looked at them, they were so content. I said, is this right, what I'm doing? These people are happy. And I'm going to, disturb everything they're doing. So that was one of the major challenges. And I was not sure how they will accept me when I went into the room, in the office. No, because I was the first alien in the company. Everybody was homegrown or assigned from Meralco. I was the first that came from the outside world. And normally when you're new in a company, the first thing that they will try to do is reject you. But lo and behold, at least I'm thankful that those people look at me as a messiah. But that even made my challenge, made my life even more difficult. So let's look at this. Of course, when you go to a transformation, you have to go to make some plans. And just a refresher, when we talk about planning, you first start with mission, vision, you look at values. Yes, this is drama. You talk about strategic planning. Then, before you go to operations planning. You can't avoid this. This is something you have to look at. Some people say, sir, why is it mission first before vision? Normally, sir, it shouldn't be vision, but vision. But in our case, it's about transformation. So we are already existing. This is what we do. So first, it's about looking at our mission. What is our purpose? Okay. As far as our parent company is concerned, we're 100% subsidiary of Meralco. So it's not like we're totally independent, we can do what we want. The parent company has a specific idea of what they want with us. But as a company, we also have our vision. When we were brought in, we were familiar with different global companies, and we said, I would one day like to be that company. So for you to grow, you have to look at a company that you would like to benchmark with, and someday you would like to be that company. Values, in fact, my learnings, by the way, I'm a member of the BCBP, same with Professor Gus here. One thing I always teach people, I work also in the teaching circuit, so is that if I had the choice, it should not be vision, mission, values. I would change it. I would make it values, mission, and vision. Because if you put vision on top, you might end up justifying the means. But values that will basically drive your business and also how you would achieve your ambition. Okay. Now, in strategic planning, there are many ways to approach it. The steps are almost the same, but I will discuss strategic planning from the point of view of when you are in a transformation mode. First thing is you scan the business and the market environments. Okay. When I say scanning, I'm just saying roughly go through it. This is what we did. I was there. I will not have time to look at every detail as we would have in class. Here, basically what we were saying to our guys, okay, we have to drive our BMW, at 120, even if the tire is flat. So you have to change tires while you're running. You cannot first stop the business and while you're transforming the company. It has to work, simultaneously. So it's important when you try to transform to try to first understand where you are. So it's about understanding the business, especially on my part. Although I've been in construction for more than 25 years, I realized that I did not know everything, especially the business of Mescor. Okay. So after you do a scanning, then you analyze your strengths and weaknesses in relation to the opportunities that are available. Strengths and weaknesses are relative. It can be a weakness at one end, but with respect to a certain opportunity, that could be a strength. So in my case, I do not look so much on the threats, but it's more of matching my strengths and weaknesses to the available opportunities. Okay. This is what Mescor was like when we joined. So he was born in 1973 out of wedlock because Meralco was sequestered in 1970 to the Marshall days. And that's when it was created. So basically, some people say, you're a bastard. So. But so it had its own landmark performance. It was one of its landmark projects is the Philippine Nuclear Power Plant. Through the years, it was even working overseas, providing engineering management services to companies in the United States. Along the way, we had a lot of developments. We created a subsidiary called Mescor Builders. Basically, it's the apo taking care of the grandparents. We went into the distribution utility business, basically similar to what our parent company was doing. And we created also Mescor Logistics in 2001. Basically, this is a service contracting business. So actually in Meralco, in the entire Meralco franchise, most of the back of the house operations are basically Mescor people. It's one of either Mescor, MBI, MLI. Out of our 7,000 employees, more than half are there to take care of the grandparent. So from cleaning the toilet to cutting trees, and as well taking care of the substations. Okay. Now in 2011, Meralco had a new set of owners. The MVP group came in and had majority management control. And in that, in the conglomerate, you cannot be just bench sitting, bench sitter. So you have to earn your keep. You have to be a contributor to the pot of the net income of the group. So there was a mandate from the top that Mescor, from just being a pure operational support center to a contributor to the consolidated core net income of the group, specific but primarily for Meralco. And that's when we came in. Just to have an overview, we were, as I was mentioning, we already had a global presence. This is where we were working. Of course, in the Philippines at that time, our market was only in the Meralco franchise area, which, by the way, is about 10,000 square kilometers. It's not that small. It's quite big, from Pampanga down to Quezon. Okay. And these are the things we did. These are our markets. We are primarily in the transmission and distribution. So you see those like transformers, the robots along the road. I call them sampayan. So we're in the sampayan business and in the charger business. The transformer substation is just like a adapter, a transformer, or a charger to me. We're also in telecoms. Maybe some of our linemen may have approached you and asked, because they were asked by PLDT to connect your DSL. So we service Meralco distribution utility, but we're also a power plant contractor. We also do a lot of infrastructure work. But the focus is on transmission and distribution. That made up about 80% of our business. Now, next step in strategic planning, okay, is after you have now done that thing, you now revisit your mission, vision, values. Revisit. Is your mission still relevant? Are you still doing the same thing? What does your parent company want you to do? Along the way, you could probably be jumping from one business to other. As you will notice, we said at one time we went into distribution utility operation. So you really have to check again and to know what is really your identity. What do you really want to be in? So we have to review, you have to stop and check on your vision. Then what do you want to be? Maybe 10 years from now, 20, 30 years from now. And then, of course, the values. Values as perceived by your employees and values to be perceived by your customers. So in our visioning, we would use one of these tools. In our visioning exercise, we said we'd like to benchmark ourselves to one of our local competitors. In fact, this was a company I used to be with. So these are your evolution. No? Getting to the top of your vision will take time, maybe way beyond my lifetime. Like when I joined the company, Mescor, it was at the 40th year. So, in fact, we went out and just to develop the passion of the employees again and their pride in the company, I launched a publication called Powerful at 40, 10 to gold. So basically, envisioning what we will be in 10 years. So it's basically trying to find out what is your current state? What is the reality? Where are you now? Now, getting to the top, to your target, it's easier if you take it one step at a time, rather than just say, I want to be on the 55th floor. It's not that way. And each step will require a transformation. You cannot just transform 100% just to reach the top. It is a long process. Okay. As you do your MVV, then you have now to define your goals, objectives, strategies, and plans. It's easier when you choose a certain framework, when you define your goals, strategies, and plans. One of the tools that, or the frameworks I use is called the strategy map, which is a extension of Kaplan and Norton's balanced scorecard. It is a visual way of integrating your organization's objective in 4 perspectives. It links customer and financial results with the internal value-creating processes. Basically, we're talking now of operations management. It's linking strategy to operation. And it tells you what competencies you need to run those processes. Here is a generic sample of a strategy map. First is the financial perspective. All businesses, whether you're for profit or non-profit, basically you look at a basic objective of long-term shareholders' value or attainment of vision and mission. And to achieve that, you either look at on the revenue side or on the cost side. Grow the revenue side and reduce your cost side. Achieving that requires you to look at it from also the customer's perspective. It will be difficult to, make a sale if your customers see you differently. Okay, so what are the things that your customer look for? Are they looking for the lowest price, looking for quality, availability? So you try to find out what are the things your customer wants. How do they also perceive you? What is your image? What is your relationship with your customer? All of these things will drive how you will develop your operational processes. Okay, in terms of supply, production, distribution, etc., how you will operationalize customer management, innovation, and how you will comply with regulatory requirements. Then that helps you define what resources you need in terms of human resource, equipment, and then information that you need and other enablers. Here are some of the steps when you go through a strategy map. First, reconcile. What is it really that your shareholder wants? And what's the gap between what you have now and what does the shareholder expect from you? Then, reconcile your current value proposition to what the customers really want. Establish a timeline for your sustained results. Then, choose a strategic trust. Identify what resources do you need, okay? And what other programs that you will need to do to be able to execute your strategy. Basically, number 6 says, how will you operationalize your strategy? So, in the early days, we split our strategies in transformation into 4 areas. The initial stage, we said, reboot and upgrade. We need to reset the company. Basically, that's finding out what is our current identity and how we would like us to be known. What is our new identity? Then we need to have as people to run the business. Develop, create a new leadership team. Then, as I said, our mandate is to grow the business. So what are our strategies to grow the business? Of course, growth is about looking at the revenue side of the equation. Cost is productivity. What markets we will enter and what products and services will we offer? Let's look at identity. We define ourselves. Some people said it's so fundamental, but we said we can design facilities, we can just build facilities, okay? Or we can design and build facilities, or we can design, build, and operate and maintain facilities, depending on what the customer wants, okay? What is our aspiration? Some point in time, we'd like to be known as the first Filipino engineering, procurement, construction contractor. A Filipino company with global presence. Yes, there are a lot of Filipino companies already worked abroad, but most of them are just construction companies. So we would like to be one of the first. But in the area of our operation and specialization, basically utilities and energy sectors. We define the values that are important to our customers in our industry. Number one, some of the things that are more important in this business are you must show quality in your work, in your processes. Make sure quality is also in terms of how you do your work, how you take care of people. That's why safety as well, and how you take care of the environment. We said we will maintain our integrity in our business dealings. We wanted to be called a solutions provider, and that meant having to work with our customers. We will collaborate in terms of finding solutions to their problems. We will innovate solutions. And we will strive to be global citizens. If you are working nationwide and globally, you always have to look at the cultures of the other people. Then we go to the new leadership team. We had to harness. So I was the first alien in the company. Then the new CEO followed me. But there were just two of us. We needed a team. Things will not happen without a team. Now you can be the best as they described my past experience. I've been everywhere, but I cannot do everything. I cannot be everywhere. So you really have to have a strong management team. And if you look at the guys here, one thing is common. We're all seniors. Yeah. Because we needed people who are professionals in the field. They're seasoned. Okay. They're trained. They're educated in their specific fields. They're process and subject matter experts. Why? We have to move fast. And these guys have experienced failure, successes. They've solved problems. They've created problems. They've experienced success and failures. Okay? So we need people who can really act fast. Then we now have to go through the strategies. Okay. So here is, when you talk about growth, as I mentioned, it's all about profitability. It's either you look at increasing revenue and or reducing costs. Our focus was more on increasing revenue. Reducing costs, there's a limit. You cannot go to zero in reduction of cost. But basically, revenue has no actual upper limit. Okay. Revenue can come from increasing your share of the market, going into new markets, and introducing new products or services. Of course, you cannot forget about productivity as you provide your services. But then you have to look at it always from the point of view of the customer. Okay. Our tendency, especially in operations management, when we look at efficiency and productivity, effectiveness, we forget the customer. Sometimes, like, I just have to share this. I was trying to get a statement of account from a bank credit card. I was already 20 minutes on the phone, but I cannot still talk to a customer service because they try to make it so. Their intention is to make it all automated, you know, but it really frustrates me. Okay. So you always have to find something that will differentiate you from the customers. And that is a value proposition. Typically, when you do a value proposition, you can choose anywhere from this. In our case, we wanted to be called a complete solutions provider, okay, because we are EPC, engineering, procurement, construction. It's not just construction. We will do design for you. We will buy all the equipment for you. We'll install it. We'll commission it. We'll run it. If you want, we'll maintain it as well. So you look at your service, and part of operations is looking at the design of your products and services. Okay. When you're designing, you always have to look at it from the point of view of the customer. Your goal is always customer satisfaction. You do this by incorporating the customer's needs into your product or service design. The development of the product is has a lot to do, the quality of it is a lot to do with the process, selection, and capacity plan. No? And designing a product or service is not just done by operations department. Okay. You have to involve all the departments. Okay. One of the tools I'd also like to introduce to you, and you can research on this, is what's called quality function deployment. Some call it the voice of the customer. Okay. It's a tool where you are able to integrate the customer's requirement in the design of your product, service, or process. It's a way for you to elicit, make the customer tell you what is it that is good for him. The purpose is really to look at the processes that will produce the product or service that will satisfy the customer. This is how it looks. They call this the house of quality. You find out what are the customer's requirements, and then you convert that into technical requirements, which will define how your processes will be developed, and then how you will develop your control plan. You look at the customer. Customers' perceived needs are in terms of their perceived value of the product. It's not, price is relative. So it is what the customer thinks the value is of the product. A customer will look at the functionality, his experience with the product or service, the symbol, like, oh, I'm using an iPhone 10. So it's about the symbol and the other intangibles. What our learning is that from a customer's perspective, whether you're selling a product or a service, there are three or four things that are common. It is of quality when it meets the timely delivery. The looks. No matter how functional your product, if it doesn't look good, it's not of quality. Anything you develop must conform to standards and must comply to regulation and societal requirements. Okay, so when we develop, as I mentioned, our value proposition, we said we will be a complete solutions provider. So we further elaborated on what we meant by, being an EPC. We said we'll give you Western quality engineering and management. Okay, Asian pricing, and Filipino craftsmanship. In short, that's basically saying, I'll give you things that are better, faster, cheaper. Okay. So, but you have to contextualize, you have to understand in our business. I mean, a client will say, can you really do a power plant? So the tendency is always to look at a Western contractor. But they want the price of a Chinese boiler. But the quality, they believe in the Filipino can do everything. So we now try to segmentize our products and services to the various markets that we are doing. We're not EPC in everything. We're only EPC in certain markets. So one of the things you also have to do is to segmentize, match, again, your capability, your strengths to the different markets. Just to give you an overview, these are some of the things we do. Okay, we can now build this. In the past, we can do a design of a substation. We can buy the materials of a substation. We can build it. But when I came in, I found that we've never done the whole tree. It's either we design, we buy, or construct. This was one of the first projects we did as on an EPC basis. I just hope the owner is not here because I told him, I have done a lot of this. We do transmission lines. We do this. We cross mountains just to build these transmission lines. Also on EPC basis. We are able to do power plants, but build only. Renewable, solar, wind, geothermal, we're into it. Telecoms, ICT solutions, water. So these are some of our core competencies. But it doesn't mean that we are also unable to do all the other work. We're even into fit-out and fit-out works, renovation. Then where will we operate? Currently, we're operating all over the Philippines. Before, we were only operating in Metro Manila. Now, we're all over the Philippines. Okay. We have about 64 projects all over the Philippines, from north to south. Okay. So, when we sell ourselves, we tell the customers what are the benefits of working with us. 45 years of experience, properly licensed. We have all the ISO certifications that will make us pass what we call the smell test. If I talk to a Bechtel or Fluor and they ask us, can you really do these things? And says, I have all these certifications. Okay, you pass. So we'll engage you. We have all these processes. We have used, for our ERP, we are using SAP. For project execution management, we are using Oracle Primavera, P6. We're using SharePoint for document management. We're using SAP for human capital. Microsoft for our office. In safety, we can say for last year we have 35 awards. We have not lost people in 2017. Okay, we have 7,000 workforce and 2,000 pieces of equipment. So part of the planning involves bridging the gap between the strategic side and the tactical side, or what we say operational side. So here is how we define our strategies and in relation to our operational side. What are the things that we would like to do? What are our focus? Revenue growth, be competitive, conserve profitability, be able to deliver larger complex projects, and be a world-class contractor. That's on the strategic level. This will drive the things that will happen on the lower level. It requires repeatable project processes, controlled budgets, tighter estimation, activity level costing, being proactive, and standardized methods. Again, in planning your operations, the House of Quality is such a good tool that you can use. here are some of the things you do in business process planning. You look at the different areas. Generally, you look at operations management processes, customer management, innovation, regulatory, and social processes. I can just, you can share, can look at this up. No, this is not something, the time is not enough for me to go through all of this. So I'm just sharing with you. I have actually 4 versions of this presentation. Unfortunately, I got the longer one. We made a mistake in loading the longer version. But generally, because we're a construction company, our focus is on processes, okay, not product focus. Eventually, again, you have to look at your other systems. Now, the other 3 segments of our strategy. I've discussed about the reboot and upgrade. The next stage is about service delivery and efficiency. Okay, we have a new leadership team, but all processes require people to operate the processes. So we needed to hire people with the right talent, the experience, the knowledge. It cannot be all senior guys who know how to operate systems. Currently, about our business in our company, more than 70% are millennials. We're only about the minority, we're less than 5% of the organization. We went into ERP, project execution management. We build up our resources. Next stage is about a focus on customer, okay, and process controls to ensure profitability. Currently, we're looking at equity infusion because we're scaling up. We need to grow, but not necessarily organically. We're looking at partnerships, joint ventures, or even acquisitions of companies. We're into lean programs, spend management, and diversification. So, if I translate that balance scorecard, the strategy map, this is how it looks in terms of converting all of those things that I've mentioned. So we put it into place. These are the things we've been doing for human capital, for our processes, okay, and the enablers that we have put in place. We have put a timeline of what we're going to do, okay, and as far as ICT, we're doing this. So for a company being run by 60 years old and above, we're so techy. Okay, so then, at some point, let's review the journey that we had. Okay. Strategy map of MIASCOR in terms of financial perspective, our value proposition, what we believe are the attributes of the product and services that will satisfy the customer, what are the processes that we would like to focus on, okay, and how we will develop a highly capable, motivated, customer-focused, process-oriented, technology-enabled human resource. Okay. These are the basic strategies that we employed. This is a timeline. From the time, for the last 5 years, this is what we've done. The result, 16% group-wide, it's a 16% average growth rate. Group-wide, the 3 companies. And for net income, 25 increase, average over the last 5 years. For the parent company, MIASCOR, revenue increased by 5.5 times in the last 3 years, the first 3 years, and income grew 7.7 times in the first 3 years. But, what's next? Well, again, it's all not rosy. there's always ups and downs, and the rest is to be seen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Torres. He was such an animated speaker. But probably just allow me to share a few insights from his short talk, or should I say, very productive talk. But anyways, I like the fact that he said that one of the motivations was not so much about the compensation, but rather the challenges that face ahead. And today, as budding managers, and I'm sure you as professionals as well, it's quite hard to sort of make that decision, especially if compensation is getting in the way. But that's really a good focus to be grounded on, and the fact that if you want to create strategic disruption, it really begins with a transformation that's greatly rooted on purpose, especially today as purpose find its hold over stronger companies and key imperatives. For example, Facebook and Google, they're very much about finding meaning in the workplace. And lastly, but certainly not the least, the good thing about that is if you really want to have a successful strategy, you have to not forget the customer always. You have to have a deeper understanding of what value means to your customer, and growth is not so much about recognizing the threats, but having a good understanding of who you are and matching your strengths and weaknesses against those opportunities. So it was really a good, very enriching talk. And that's the only way that you could create a strong and differentiated value proposition. So I'm sure we are done with our two speakers, and there has been a wealth of insights that have been shared, right, Joyce? And I think we've gotten to the best part, which is all about giving you guys VIP access to the speakers. But before we get to that portion, we will just perhaps introduce to the stage, or welcome to the stage, one of who can actually weigh in on what has been discussed so far.
Yes, having heard the first two presentations, we would like to invite another seasoned professional to give his take on operations management and what has been discussed so far. So, from healthcare to construction and now to retail and consumer services. Our next speaker is Neil Delgado, CPA. He actually started his career as an investment banker with a Hong Kong-based company in 1993. But in 1997, he co-founded the brand Aquabest, a water refilling station franchising concept, which grew to over 1,200 outlets nationwide. He was the general manager and chief operating officer of the company, responsible for making the brand a market leader in the country today and an award-winning firm recognized by the Entrepreneur magazine for 3 consecutive years. He spearheaded the company's ISO implementation program and became the first company in the industry to be certified. Later on, he was given the Leadership in Quality Award on Total Quality Management under the Gold category by the Business Initiative Directions for International Star in Paris. Presently, he took over the management and reorganized the family-owned bake shop in Pangasinan and incorporated it under Jelen Bakers Food Corporation. He is an active member and one of the key leaders at the Lighthouse Bible Baptist Church, is married to Christy, who is HR manager at Mount Grace Group of Hospitals, and has 3 beautiful daughters. So to weigh in and add his insights to an already rich discussion, please welcome Mr. Neil Delgado.
Hello. We have a full house today, and it's quite so far the biggest crowd that I've faced speaking before the MBA students. I'm here to talk about operational management and to react to the previous speakers. I'm not supposed to make any presentation, but anyway, imagine operations management. Actually, when I was asked to react, I said, you know why operations? Operations is the most boring subject in MBA. Professor Montalvo, I'm sorry, but marketing is the best subject in MBA, I would say. But here am I talking about operations management. Is that moving? Yeah. Okay. So, operations management is actually a administration of business process to make things very efficient. Managing of resources, right? So you have problems in the operations. Many problems actually arising because if you have a day-to-day activities, just like me, Ascor would have, they have, I'm sorry, sir, you have 45 projects all over the Philippines, right? I'm sorry, 64 projects, ongoing projects every day, and it's a highly intensive operational activity that you need to have a good management approach in doing this, and because of many problems. Operations is actually a subject, is a problem center. If you're an operations manager, you always face a lot of problems. The problem is that with the operations is that most processes are not defined. In my background, I would see that many business owners would just rely on their managers, in doing activities and things like that. It's not defined. And I think that is the main problem in the operations. When you don't define the business processes, the heavy burden is actually with the managers. Yeah, middle managers, you would have that problem actually. Okay. Now, if a man knows not what harbor he seeks, any wind is the right wind. It says there, The problem with the operations is that if everything is not defined, you have a problem of you're giving decision-making to the lower management without them actually knowing what exactly they need to achieve, because they would have their own objectives. I've seen managers when I was in Tagaytay, and I was actually looking at one of the function room, and it says, they have a company having a strategic planning session. When I inquired upon it, and strategic planning, only the marketing department doing the strategic planning. I said, why not the entire company? Why only the strategic? They're doing only strategic planning with the marketing. It's supposed to be a holistic approach. When you do strategic planning, it's supposed to be the enterprise. Everyone should be a part of it. Now, a marketing department would have their own targets. They would have their own ways of achieving things. Now, problem arises, like for example, if you set a target with the marketing and you would need, for example, a budget, for example, for advertising and promotion and everything. You go to the finance department, and the finance department would say, wala tayong budget yan, we don't have that budget. What would you do? Diba? Some people are laughing. Some people in the operation would say that I would be needing, for example, a truck for the delivery so that we can make our delivery efficient. You have already your truck, work on the constraint. But we have a problem. Recently the MMDA already flagged, make the heavier axle flying around EDSA prohibitable. They already prohibited. They say you don't fly around on EDSA, you go on other ways. Finance department would say that. It's your problem, it's not mine. Think of it in the operations if you have that kind of problem and you don't have a signified, a common mission, a common objectives amongst the department, you're going to face a lot of problems. Operational management is guided by the defined objectives. What are these defined objectives? I use MBO because because I'm an entrepreneur, I myself, when I done a strategic planning with my company, with Aquabest, I spoke not only with my own employees, not only with my own managers, I spoke to the entire franchises. In fact, I have a different strategic planning sessions with my franchises because I like to share them my vision.
I influenced them. I shared to them the vision. I told them exactly what do we need to do. So that when you have a sharing vision and you kind of influence them, you know, parang na-hypnotize mo sila, they always follow you. This is something that you need to adopt in your organization. Management by Objectives by Peter Drucker. What does it says? It's guided by the defined objective, which is strategic, as against implementation, which is tactical. Both earlier speakers talk about strategic and tactical. That's very important in operational management. Why? Think of it. In the military organization, I mean, the professors, he would actually believe that, would agree with me, that strategic planning, in management, the best managers of the military. Why? Because they are inculcated with a certain culture. Diba? They have a very solid culture that they need to obey. And they know their mission. Their mission is to what? To die for the country. Right? So there's no way of going back when you're sent in the mission. But it has to be on a strategic way, but you know, the strategic management would look on the map, the strategic map. He is concerned about the mission, the vision, what is to achieve there. For example, when President Duterte sent the military to raid the caliphate, the planned caliphate in Marawi, he sent troops over there. The vision, actually, the larger vision there is actually to have a long-lasting peace. But in sending the troops there, would not actually address the issue of having a lasting peace. Right? It's just only a mission just to suppress the rebellion in the area. So that is a tactical. That is where you apply tactical operations. In tactical operations, you have different people under you. You have different platoons. You have different managers under you. What do? You send one troop into one location and send another troop in another location. The other troop needs to be organized and coordinated with each other. And who does that? Who does that? The strategic managers. The one that does in the tactical is the lower platoon leaders, mostly the lieutenants. That is what they do. You know, the problem with the management, if most companies that I have been to, I was actually part of the company in Hong Kong, and you know, the problem with my bosses there is that the board of directors do not know exactly what they. I'm having problem with this. Okay. Can you go back a little, please? Go back, please. Okay, forward, sorry. Yeah. So with the MBO, I'm sorry, I kind of lost with my slide. I'm not supposed actually to have the slide just to react. Actually, just giving the predicate of what I'm supposed to discuss. MBO is a performance management approach in which a balance of sought between the objectives of employees and the objectives of an organization. This is what actually I'm trying to say a while back. A soldier needs to know what he has to accomplish and why is he doing it, right? It has to be pretty defined and inculcated in his mind that he needs to do it, whatever it costs. That's how management is supposed to work. And you have a defined, clear, and shared mission and vision and objectives. And it has to be translated in the organization. So the strategic way of doing things is that explaining to everyone, telling everyone, where do we need to go? Where are we going? Where are we supposed to achieve at a certain point in time? Stimulate participation of employees in determining objectives. Now, this is where you conduct strategic planning and tell them, per department, this is what we're going to be achieving, per department. And along with, it goes together, along with the same vision. Monitors development and progress. Now, this is what you do with the review and analysis, right? You do the checking and the correcting later on. Review, evaluate, and reward achievements of your employees. Next, please. This is supposed to happen. You have a vision. The vision you're supposed to be. In your case, sir, you said that the vision actually written by the Meralco, right? So you're actually more on the short term is the mission. Vision is actually the long term. It's actually sometimes, and most often times, it actually transcends a lifetime of a person, even the owner of, or even the company, for that matter. A mission is actually a short-term objective. It's a general statement of your short-term objective. Then you have the policies and operating manual, which is normally based on an ISO. If you're an ISO-based company, you need to have a policy set according to the standard. Then you do your strategies and objectives. This is what you do by department. And then you have actions and operating plan, which is going to be your operating plan, a written operating plan on how you do things. And then the operational management performance review. Then you go back to the, next please. You go back if that performance actually achieved the strategies and objectives, which is based on the policies, which alongside with the policies and following with the mission. The problem is that when you have a situation that if these are not defined accordingly, you have a situation that anything goes, right? You have a problem of burdening your supervisors, your boss, your president of what to do next. That is a problem. In many occasions, I have experience of having a situation that we're having a meeting with the different contractors, and most of them are engineers and architects. We're looking at putting up a plant, manufacturing plant of a construction materials. There's one guy who is a contractor, and the guy was being called by his secretary and asking him that if he can give 250 pesos to the driver who delivered a construction material to a certain site, because he has to pass through a subdivision which they need to pay a toll. Imagine a secretary calling the president of the company to decide upon 250 pesos. 250 pesos worth of toll. And we were having a meeting talking about 200 million investment. Because this is not the kind of a president should be deciding upon. But even if the company is very small, a problem at which arises, if, for example, in this case, what happened was it's not defined. It's not pretty defined. We have seen how the company of Dr. Naval, what we have seen, there are different procedures that they have employed there. Everything they discuss about the procedures of how a certain they call these laundry and things like that. It's pretty actually neat how they do things. It's procedural and everything. It's standard. It's basis. It's actually there. Because you cannot get away with the kind of understanding of how things are being done without the procedures, and everyone is actually needed to do that. Everyone in the in the operating room needs to accomplish. Imagine that. And if you deviate with the kind of procedural activities that you need to decide upon, and you have to ask somebody else, that's a big problem. That's how things should be done, and things are pretty well coordinated. Now, there are many things that are pretty defined actually with the kind of activities that we have. Now, ISO is actually a good standard that which in quality management has want to achieve, you know. For example, measurement is very important in things that you need to do with the kind of activities. For example, I give you a very good example in measurement. MIA score, they're very heavy in using ERP system. But in some companies, because of, like for example, SAP, the licensing of SAP is very expensive, right? So many have implemented SAP, are using only financial modules. They're only using financial modules. The problem is that when you need information, when one department needs information, they have to ask the user of the SAP to give them the information. And that is a problem. ERP is supposed to be not working that way. ERP is a shared database. It's a management information system that everyone has to be able to access the information they need for them to be able to analyze the kind of information they need in the certain departments. But they have to ask someone who has a user. So that is a problem. If you don't have access, and people from the operations department would have difficulty of accessing information if you're not able to achieve that kind of information. So what we did in our company, we employ a different kind. It's an ERP also, but it's an open source. So what we did, for example, in doing so, we have designed our different modules accordingly, customized according to the kind of activity that we have. It's a very simple understanding because since we are an ISO-based company, we're able to establish the kind of activity and we're able to transmit that and able to put that in our ERP system. So that's the kind of information. So everyone has an access into it. And in my office before, whenever I used to go to my office, I have 4 monitors and I'm able to know exactly what is happening in my operations. Why? Because it's almost real time. In fact, for us to be able to understand the kind of information, I have one situation that happened before that you see, we have 1,200 franchisees. We get post-dated checks. Instead of they paying us the royalties, we collect monthly dues from them. We collect advertising fees from them. We collect advance purchases from them. So normally we collect 1 year of them and then they have to give us 36 checks. Imagine we have 1,200 franchises nationwide and giving us a checks of 36 each of them. It's a nightmare. Why? Because the problem is that if we're not able to deposit the checks on the particular given time, we will be having problem with the operations because the finance department will be having problem with the budgeting, right? So what we did, we're able to get a bank that was able to give us a check warehousing facility. The warehousing facility would provide us the entire operations, to be able to harness that to give them the checks in advance, giving them the checks in advance, and they'll be the one to process it. Diba? So try to understand that. That situation arises. You have a nightmare because you need to have people under you to process the checks. But in this case, the banks already did it for you. But another problem arises. We need to know how much money has been deposited in our bank during a particular day. So what we did, we asked the bank if they can give us information. What information we need is how much money they have deposited and how much is being cleared. Let's say, we can only give that every week because they need to process the information. I said, that's not possible. We need to have a real-time information access to that. So what we did, I asked the guys under me and told them, you see, this is the problem. We need to access the information from the bank. Now this is being done. How is it being done? We have to go into the bank. We have to access the server of the bank and harness the information that we need for us to be able to get the information and adopt in our system. So I spoke to the bank, the vice president of the bank, and told them exactly and gave them the kind of protocol, security protocol that we will be using so that we could enter their system and harness the information from their own system. And then they have agreed. And later on, they develop a software development kit for them to be able to do that also and offer that to their clients. You see? Because it is a very big operation, and you know one system, when you employ another system, you need another system for you to be able to understand the kind of thing that you need to do. There are so many things actually that you need to understand under the operational management. Now, next please. Now this is supposed to be a board of directors. Now the function of defining the vision and mission is placed under the board of the directors. Why? Because they set the direction of the company. And of course, next please. And the management team defines the strategies and objectives. And the project managers decides the operational management review and strategic objectives. Next, please. Okay. So this is more strategic, defining the mission and vision, because the mission needs to be revised every now and then. And, of course, the strategies needs to be addressed during a certain particular time. Action and operating plans, operational management are part of the tactical operations. Now, to answer Professor Montalvo's question, when do you say that operational management achieves success? I say it's a continuing process. It's a going concern. So it's really hard to tell when you achieve operational success, because companies usually go to the next level, and it creates more problem with the operation when you need to go to the next level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Delgado. Know your harbor, harness the wind, and steer the whole ship in that direction. Strategy and tactics. Before we move on to the interesting part, meaning the Q&A portion and the discussion interacting with the audience, I would just like to remind everybody to fill out the survey questionnaires that are included in your respective programs. That's all very important. Please don't forget to accomplish those and submit that to the registration desk out front. Now over to Enzo.
Yeah, so are you guys still with us? I know it's been a long night, but we have saved the best for last. So we're actually dedicating 2 hours for this Q&A now. No, just joking. Biro lang, syempre. Divide natin yun into 120 minutes. Mga 20 minutes lang, but let's make the most out of it, shall we? So to officially start the Q&A, may I invite our speakers, our very engaged speakers, to assume the stage here so that we can begin the discussion.
Please join us at the sofas in front.
Yes. And for those, for our guests and students, please prepare your questions. The mic is in front, but we could actually have someone bring the microphone to you guys if you don't feel like you wanted to have a a personal question on stage. All right? So can I have a show of hands who have some questions for our speakers for this evening?
Please also make sure to state your name and which speaker your question is directed to. Thank you.
It can be a question. It can also be a reaction if you guys want to.
Show of hands, please. Yes, this gentleman here in front.
Yes, this is not a bidding process, definitely.
Over there, sorry, Paul.
So
we'll here first, and then the gentleman in black here.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay. Hi.
Hello, good evening. I am JJ Kaluya. I'm a postgraduate intern from Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. So my question was originally for Dr. Naval, but I invite all the other speakers to give their input as well. So this is coming from my experience from the medical field and also as a patient. So we've all had the experience of going to the doctor and from private or public facilities and waiting for a long time. So just to be told na, cut off na, tas di ka namin titignan, for example. So my question is, what do you think is the future of operations management in health, particularly in a government or resource-scarce environment? Thank you.
Well, first of all, you have to realize that operations doesn't solve everything. I think that was evident from Sir Gito's talk, that you have to look at the holistic thing. So operations will not solve all the problems that you have in government or public health facilities, but definitely you can do something about operations. Sometimes operations planning becomes so complex, and complexity takes on expense, and that's why when you submit eventually a plan to improve operations, it becomes so bloated. No? So for, I think, government and public facilities, the best thing to do, because resources are scarce, is to start on simple things. And there are a lot of things that you can do simply without having to spend cash or without having to invest in heavy equipment or buildings. For example, in the government, what happens with operations is that it is not customer-centric. It does not look at the patient as a person that you have to satisfy. It's more of, what can I offer the public? These are the services that we offer, therefore they should line up for those services. So that in itself is already a problem. So changing it to a system where you have a customer-centric operations design or a design will already solve some of the problems. So if you have patients, for example, queuing up and then you have a cutoff, then that means probably you should start earlier. Starting earlier, staggering the shift, starting at 6, ending at late at night, and having several shifts will actually help decongest that limited time where you can see the patients on an outpatient basis. What we did, for example, at Philippine General Hospital, where I trained, was that we had what we called a night outpatient department. So for people who were, for example, coming from work, instead of going to the emergency room, which was supposed to treat urgent cases, we were stuck up with people going there because they had a cold. For the past 3 days, they haven't been able to get out of work, so they go to the ER because all doctors' offices are closed. So the family medicine department ended up opening an outpatient clinic to see those patients. So that's one example. There are many more examples that you can think of. And basically, what I want to stress is just keep it simple, because that makes it cheaper. And sometimes that actually becomes more effective.
I'm not that familiar with, medicine medical services on a nationwide level. But what I can share is something that my son shared when he was acting as a consultant for the Department of Education. One of his learnings, they were trying to teach them how to plan. So what they realized is that the challenge, one of the bigger challenges is most of the people at the regional or division level did not know how to plan. They didn't know how to plan. So that they had challenges with respect to budgets to operate the schools. But it never gets to the national level in the right way because they did not know how to make their budgets. So with a small budget, then it affects how you will operate your school. Same manner, probably the problem at the local level in terms of operating the clinics is because they're not able to get the right funding and because they didn't know how to create a budget. And what they found out is on the local level, they budgeted differently to the regional, to the national. So I think that's one of the things. It's harder when it's on a nationwide level, very much harder.
There is a diagnostic center right now that used to be services given solely by the hospitals before. Now you have private diagnostic systems. One thing I've experienced is that when you had it yourself checked, you would need to go back to get the results right. There's some diagnostic centers that actually would give you information and access their database online after you had yourself checked. That's one good information system. But imagine, for example, you had consulted the doctor. You have a regular doctor that you're consulting with a certain clinic, and of course he would have your medical records. What if, for example, you contracted or you suddenly had a heart attack in another place? So you've been diagnosed. You need to be diagnosed by the doctor locally, but he wouldn't have access of information. But if you have a central database, I would say doctors that would have a database, the doctor will be able to access the data and see what's the medical condition prior that it happened to him. Right? It's a very useful operational activity that. So again, it goes again. For me, I'm very fond of management information system. Information is very important, most especially with the medical practitioners.
All right. So I'm sure you guys have prepared questions way before the forum, but in the interest of time, we will have room, or we'll make room for 2 more questions. So I think there was one person who raised his hand earlier. And we have another one as well. So we have our 2 questionnaires.
Good evening, sir. I'm Manuel Umali. I'm not a student anymore, but I graduated 2016 actually from the what do you call this? Yeah, Professor Gus, of course, being our instructor. My question is for Sir, what do you call it? Torres. Yes, sir. Sorry. Being on the engineering side, of course, business, how would you
I think we're having technical difficulties. There.
As I said, on the engineering side or business construction, of course, how would you rate maintenance on a scale of 1 to 10? How important it is, especially on those heavy equipments that you have?
Oh, yeah, it's harder to maintain a 25-year-old equipment than brand new one. So it really affects our performance.
Okay.
Because one of the things we do is, of course, maintain those those distribution poles. So,
Yeah.
and we need basket trucks. Imagine if a 25-year-old truck, if the hydraulics fail, then the lineman's life is at risk.
Okay.
So,
Yes, sir.
so
Yeah.
really, but if you have to strike a balance between capitalizing, the equipment, buying new ones vis-a-vis, trying to maintain it. And sad part in the Philippines, a lot of, the practice is we like to buy second-hand, reused, recycled equipment, but because the first cost is low, but eventually you learn that the maintenance cost is high. However, because the way contracts are structured in terms of prices contractors are paid, it makes it impossible for a small contractor to buy those equipment. Like in our case, one basket truck will cost you anywhere from 9 million to 25 million. So.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so the next question, sir, is that of course doesn't mean to compete with MIESCOR. I'm in shipping, actually. Yeah, I'm in shipping. Yeah. But then again, the next question is, of course, perhaps MIESCOR, you have been on this strategy as well. On these three levels of maintenance, one is the plan-based maintenance, other one is the condition-based maintenance, and the last one is the breakdown maintenance. How would you more or less consider these three types of maintenance applicable with MIESCOR for the last decades of operations?
Well, we have different types of equipment that we use. The heavy equipment, the vehicles. We have also a lot, probably we have about more than 500 cars. We have a fleet of cars that we maintain. So the heavy equipment. So each type of equipment, we will use a different type of maintenance program. So there's no steadfast rule, but.
So you would probably say that the plan-based maintenance is much more preferable in terms of avoiding breakdowns or stoppages. But of course, it might be costly.
Let's say in our business, it's a based, the utilization based on demand. If there's a lot of demand, even if I would like to have it on preventive maintenance, but if there's a client needing the service right away, and it's part of our SLA, somehow it affects our decision with respect to that plan-based maintenance. So we may have to forego, delay, etc. So because of that, so because of the demand of the project or of the client.
Yes, sir. Okay. So my question is just to ask this strategy which MIESCOR had been applying, because everybody knows that when you're in the engineering business or construction, maintenance really plays a big role when your equipment starts to bog down or break down. So that will be loss of contracts and everything.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for your participation, sir. We do have one more person who would like to ask a question. So there you go.
Hi, I'm Ed Verba from the Middle Managers Program. My question is for Dr. Naval. But before I ask my question, those who are not taking Strama yet, please take note. I hope you have taken note what Sir Torres has discussed with us, because strategic management po yun. Napakalaking magandang tip po yung diniscuss niya sa atin. Okay. Sir, Dr. Naval, the changes or yung accomplishment natin on the linen operation, which you have saved, I believe, around 50% at least, no?
Yes.
Ng cost ng ating linen operation, and also you have shortened the lead time. But then again, I wonder what do you do with those disposable linens to lessen the impact of it on our environment, just to air the concern of Prof. Montalvo earlier.
Well, First of all, ophthalmology operations are not as dirty or bloody as many operations you see on TV. In fact, it's bloodless most of the time. So a lot of the linen, the gowns that the doctors use that are not soiled are actually recycled by us. We have a charity program. It's an PhilHealth has a no balance billing program. That means the patients only pay PhilHealth rates, which is a measly 16,000 pesos, where 5,400 goes to the doctor, and then the rest goes to the facility. So all the materials, including the gowns, have to be borne by that amount. So in order to be able to render the same quality of service to our less fortunate or our poorer patients, we use those reusable gowns. Of course, not all can be reused. We can't just keep everything. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose of disposable. So there is a mandated, the DNR has mandated that we contract with one accredited hazardous waste manager or disposer. So we have contracts, we have a contract with one of those accredited companies. And I believe they are incinerated, well, at least that's the plan. They're incinerated at the lung center, where they have an environmentally cleared incinerator for such wastes. Despite the fact that you would like to reuse, recycle, or reduce, no? Because of the risk of infection, there is a limit, just like costs. You cannot go down to zero, no? So you have to reduce the number of times you are able to use a certain supply. The other thing is you cannot also recycle everything because of that same problem. Plus the fact that you also increase the risk if you do the recycling. That's one of the reasons why we also were scared of the linen. If you imagine the microscopic operations that we do, even a small bit of cloth that is left inside the eye is actually visible to us, and we get bothered by it. Although it doesn't really normally harm the patient's eye. You can see it when the patient follows up with you. So environmental impact, we try to reduce it, we try to recycle as much, but we can't really go beyond certain or below certain standards.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you very much. I'm sure that there are a lot more questions and probably thoughts on the floor, but in the interest of time, we're going to have to cut our Q&A segment shorter. But we do want to take this time to appreciate our resource persons for sharing their time and expertise with us. Would you please give them a round of applause? And at this point, may we invite the three gentlemen to join us in the middle of the front, please. Can you please, sirs, join us here at the front of the middle of the stage as we invite Professor Ralph Ande, Chairperson for the Department of Operations Management and IT, as well as Professor Manuel Tenmatay, Operations Management Class Professor, to join them in front. And then we would like to invite the organizers to come up with the plaques of appreciation for our distinguished guests.
Give it na lang.
And then to just gather for a group photo, please. But before that, there are more gifts.
I think they prepared suitcases for as gifts. No, just kidding.
We appreciate your presence very much.
Thank you so much. So stay caffeinated. We'll just have one more class picture. And of course, we would also like to take this opportunity to thank some key people that actually helped in the success of this forum, especially from our class. We would like to acknowledge them for their valuable support and contribution, because without them, this forum would not have been a resounding success. Of course, we'll start off with Professor Manuel Tenmatay being the class professor, the Operations and IT Department head, headed by Professor Ralph Ante, Professor Luiso Montalvo, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Professor Dennis Ryan Cruz, Student Activities and Formation Director, Mr. Renan Sulit, our Information Technology Manager, Ms. Rhea Lynn Olano, Office of the Vice President for the Professional Schools, and the Alpha Eagle Society of AGSB Student Council. All right, so I think this forum is officially coming to a close. But of course, I would just like to remind everyone to please fill out the survey, as Joyce have mentioned earlier. And to officially close this, I would like to call on Mr. Tenmatay again to give us the closing remarks.
Good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for waiting for my closing remarks. I would like to thank the audience. I think we were a full house a while ago. Sorry for those who were not able to sit down. I'm sure you enjoyed the forum because of our inspirational talk from the speakers. So I would like to thank the speakers for gracing this occasion. I know a lot of you learned a lot from them. Pati ako natuto eh. In addition, I would like to thank Ateneo and the professors who are always here to support our forum. And most especially to my group of 7, the class of 7 who made this possible. So all good things must come to an end. So at this point, I would like to close the forum. Thank you very much and good evening.
Thank you guys and enjoy the rest of the night.
Ay, nako, you're very... Ay, ano ba yan?